Hey, welcome! Today, we are going to cut through all the noise and get right into the science of meditation. We're going to look at it as a set of tools, real science-backed tools, that you can use to actually change your brain, sharpen your focus, and get a handle on your mood. And the best part? No belief system required.
So let me ask you this. Have you ever tried to meditate and just felt like you're failing at it? If so, you're in good company. It is the #1 reason people just give up. They sit down, their mind immediately goes a million different places, and they think, well, I guess I'm just bad at this. But what if I told you that feeling of struggle, that feeling of being bad at it, isn't a sign you're failing? It's actually the sign that it's working.
Okay, so first things first, let's just bust the biggest myth right out of the gate. When most of us hear the word meditation, we picture someone in a perfect lotus pose, in total silence, with a completely empty mind. But the reality? It's so much broader than that. Meditation can be something you do while you're walking, while you're listening really intently to music, or even while you're mindfully eating a meal. See, the real goal here isn't to achieve some mystical empty mind. It's about training your attention.
So, if the whole point is to train our attention, then we kind of have to understand how our brain pays attention in the first place, right? And this brings us to a really cool core concept for today, the idea that your brain operates in two different worlds. Neuroscientists have this great way of explaining it. Think of your perception, your awareness, as a spotlight. And you are in control of that spotlight. You can choose to make it super narrow and focused, like zeroing in on just one word on your screen right now. Or you can broaden that beam to take in the entire room around you. You can even, believe it or not, split that beam into two separate spotlights. Your brain already knows how to do this.
Now, that spotlight can be pointed in one of two main directions. The first one is inward. The scientific term for this is interoception. This is basically your awareness of everything happening from your skin inwards, the feeling of your own heartbeat, the rhythm of your breath, maybe a knot in your stomach. It is your perception of your own internal world. And of course, the other direction is outward, and you guessed it, that's called exteroception. This is your perception of everything outside the boundary of your skin, the sounds in the room, the light from your screen, the feeling of the space you're in. So at any given moment, your spotlight of attention is somewhere on a spectrum between these two worlds, your inner one and your outer one. Okay, so why does any of this matter? Why is mastering the spotlight so important? Well, because when we don't consciously control where that spotlight is pointing, our minds do what minds do. They wander. And as it turns out, there's a pretty big emotional price to pay for that. Now, there's a neurological reason for this. It's called the default mode network. The easiest way to think about this is as your brain's autopilot mode. Whenever you're not actively focused on a task, this network just kicks on and your mind starts to drift, shuffling through old memories, thinking about something that just happened, or planning and worrying about the future. And this led to a huge landmark study from some researchers at Harvard. They tracked thousands of people in real time, pinging them on their phones throughout the day, and they came to a really stark conclusion. The title of their paper pretty much says it all. A wandering mind is an unhappy mind. And what they found was just wow. First, they discovered that our minds are wandering for nearly half of our waking hours, almost 50% of the time. And when our minds are wandering, we are consistently less happy. But here's the part that blew my mind. This was true even when people were wandering off to pleasant thoughts. Let that sink in. The simple act of not being present in the moment is a better predictor of your happiness than what you are actually doing. So if a wandering mind is the problem, the solution can't just be to try harder to focus, right? The most effective fix, it turns out, is a little counterintuitive. Let's think about this like exercise. If your mind has a natural habit of being pulled in one direction, what's the best way to build up the mental muscle to control it? The answer is so simple and yet so powerful. You train the opposite focus. This is the whole strategy. You don't just do what feels easy. You actively push against your brain's default tendency in that moment. It's that friction, that bit of effort, that actually signals your brain to start changing. It's what triggers neuroplasticity. So let's look at how this plays out in real life. It's a simple if-then game. If you feel like you're stuck in your own head, with thoughts just looping over and over, that means you're in an overly interoceptive state. The best thing you can do right then is train the opposite. Practice exteroception. Deliberately focus all of your attention on the world outside of you. And on the flip side, if you're feeling scattered, distracted by every little thing around you, that's an overly exteroceptive state. The fix? You guessed it. Train interoception. Bring your focus inward to a sensation like your breath.
So, what this gives us is an incredibly simple, practical little exercise that you can do absolutely anywhere, anytime. And it only takes a few minutes.
Here it is, 2 steps. That's it. Step 1 is just to assess your state. Just pause and notice, where is my attention being pulled right now? Am I lost in my head, or is everything around me grabbing my focus? Then step 2, choose your focus. For the next 1, 2, maybe 3 minutes, just deliberately practice the opposite. It's that simple. You're basically diagnosing your brain's current state and then prescribing the exact opposite as the workout. And this does not have to be fancy. For an external focus, an exteroceptive practice, you could literally just pick a random spot on the wall and gently rest your gaze there. Or you could close your eyes and just try to hear and label every single sound around you. For an internal, interoceptive focus, the classics are classics for a reason. Just close your eyes and feel the physical sensation of your breath moving in and out. Or do a quick body scan, moving your attention from your toes all the way up to your head. And this brings us all the way back to that feeling we started with, that feeling of being bad at meditation. This is the most important part, because this is where we totally reframe what the goal of this practice even is. And I'll give you a hint, it is not about perfection. Remember that struggle, that feeling that this is hard and your mind is all over the place? Well, it turns out that feeling of effort is the workout. That difficulty is the exact signal your brain needs to tell it, hey, we need to adapt here. We need to change. If this stuff were easy, your brain would have absolutely no reason to rewire itself. What this means is that the goal is not to achieve a perfectly silent, still mind. That's impossible. The real skill, the thing you are actually training, is the act of refocusing. Every single time you notice your mind has wandered off and you gently guide it back to whatever you chose to focus on, you've just done one perfect rep of the exercise. The distraction isn't a failure. It's the opportunity to get a rep in. Think of it exactly like that. One moment of noticing, one moment of gently returning your focus equals one successful rep. So if you get distracted 10 times in a minute, you didn't fail. You just did 10 reps of one of the best exercises you can do for your brain. You're not bad at meditation, you're just getting a really, really good workout. So at the end of the day, the power to train your brain is right there with you all the time. Meditation isn't about emptying your mind, it's about learning how to consciously aim that spotlight of your attention. So the only question left really is, where are you going to direct yours today?